You have no idea about the craziest theories that Peppa Pig hides from fans, but are you ready to uncover the secrets of the show that are almost being revealed? The new Queen of England has just been born, at least in the Peppa Pig universe. She will be Evie Pig, Peppa's sister, who's making her debut on the show on May 30th. Yep, you heard that right. Peppa's sister could be the new queen, and there are plenty of reasons to believe this. First, Mummy Pig's pregnancy was big news all around the world and even made it on TV. And remember how, in the past, many thought this character's name would be Peggy, which is a nickname for Margaret, the name of Queen Elizabeth's sister. Second, now that we know her name is Evie Pig, something incredible happened. The little piglet was born in the very same hospital where the princes of England were born, St. Mary's Hospital. Third, a royal messenger was used to announce the piglet's birth, and at the end, he said, "Long live Evie," as if he were talking about a queen. Also, the queen in Peppa's world has no heirs because everyone knows she lives alone. And that's different from you. You're always here with us. Madame Gazelle is a vampire, and many fans who are just starting to watch Peppa these days don't even know it. Yep, Peppa's teacher is a very ancient vampire, and there's plenty of proof. She has no reflection in the mirror, and it wasn't an animation mistake because the story's narrator even noticed it happening. In the Halloween episode, when she's talking to Susie Sheep, you can only see Peppa's friend. The next clue is that she's super old. This character was even the teacher of Peppa's parents, and she was already elderly back then. In the episode about Madame Gazelle's house, she says she planted a pine tree, a tree that takes over 20 years to grow, but she was already an old gazelle when that happened. And that's impossible for an ordinary person because no one can do the things she does, not even in a children's cartoon. Another big clue is that inside Madame Gazelle's house, there's a photo of her husband, a man wearing a suit, but there's also a painting of him at the art museum where he's dressed in a war uniform from centuries ago. Peppa could very well have an evil twin sister. There's an official image of Peppa showing the pig family in their front yard, while in the window you can see a little piglet watching them. It's important to make it clear that this image is official. There's also a very suspicious login on Mummy Pig's computer. It shows the player rankings for that game Peppa loves to play, and if you pay close attention to the last name, you'll see the letters OOP. There are no characters in the universe with those initials besides Peppa's possible sister. Plus, her score in the game is 142, which is another reference because episode 142 tells the story of two sisters, Mrs. Rabbit and Miss Rabbit, who are twins. Also, it's very possible that this character sadly lost her life because while the image where she appears is official, she has unfortunately never shown up in any episode, so it's almost certain that she's no longer alive. Could that be why Peppa's new sister was born? Because Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig were sad and wanted to have another little one to bring love back to their family? Mr. Bull might be super evil, and in fact, a character who does lots of bad things just to make money. Have you noticed how he's always fixing the school's roof, and yet rainwater still keeps leaking in and disrupting the classes? This character is always at Madame Gazelle's school, even though he doesn't have a kid studying there. That's why there's a theory that he never actually fixes the problem properly so that the teacher keeps hiring his services over and over. Another reason is that sometimes Mr. Bull is seen on the roads, digging holes to replace sewer pipes. In the episode where he's digging up the plumbing, there's absolutely no reason for it. There are no leaks or damages, so maybe he's the one causing these construction issues just so he can get paid to fix them later. Is it possible that deep down, he's actually evil? Edmund is a genius elephant who's only 2 years old, and that makes absolutely no sense because there just isn't enough time for this character to know everything he does. Even being a genius, Edmund would need more than 2 years to study all the knowledge he has, which is why there's a theory that he's actually an adult. The first reason is that time doesn't pass in Peppa's universe. There have already been 6 Christmas episodes, and all the characters are still the same age. The second reason is that Grandpa Rabbit, the only other genius in the show, is 100 years old. And that proves there must already be some kind of power that allows characters to live for a very long time. And everyone knows that Edmund and Grandpa Rabbit have some kind of connection because they're always debating science whenever they meet. The third reason is that Edmund studies in the same class as Peppa, even though he's younger than her. He's smarter than the teacher, so he doesn't need to be there, but the little guy chooses to because he has a plan to pretend he's a kid. And are you as smart as Edmund? Comment #yes so we can get to know ya. Have you noticed that Miss Rabbit is literally everywhere doing different jobs? Many people think she's just working, but that's not true. She's a government spy who's been tracking the pig family, and this theory became even stronger after the theory about Evie Pig being the new queen started circulating online. If you pay close attention, you'll see that Miss Rabbit is not everywhere. She only shows up whenever the pig family is, because she's following the main characters. In the episode where they visit the TV station, it shows that there's always a camera filming Peppa. The proof is that Susie watches her friend deliver the show's opening. That's super interesting. Could Miss Rabbit really be a spy who's keeping tabs on the pig family? Another theory is that Daddy Pig, unfortunately, is mistreated by the other characters in the show, and that makes us think he might even want to leave home. Sadly, in the cartoon, the abuse against Daddy Pig, where Peppa calls him fat, is played off as a joke, but it's not really funny. Peppa uses her dad's weight as the password for people to enter that little treehouse, and the theory is that actually the characters in the show don't really like Daddy Pig. They also make fun of him, like when they force the poor guy to run all by himself because of the school roof. Could there be a whole club of people who hate Daddy Pig? That wouldn't be cool at all. Some fans believe that Teddy, Peppa's teddy bear, is actually a toy with a life of its own. When the pig family travels around Italy, Teddy often seems to escape from Peppa because in reality, she's alive. And in the episode Doll Hospital, Peppa seems to hear Teddy's voice and know what she wants. That's really creepy. If Peppa can really hear the toy talking, then it's totally possible that Teddy has a life of her own. In the episode Teddy's Day Out, Peppa asks the toy to promise not to disappear again after it went missing. So basically, the little pig and Teddy are having conversations. Teddy goes missing so many times that it seems like she doesn't even want to live with the pig family. That's strange. Now for a funny theory. Could it be that Peppa and her family are actually really stinky? They're pigs who love to jump in muddy puddles, so it's totally possible that they smell bad. If you've ever played in the mud, you know that smell is tough to get rid of, even after taking a bath. So yeah, maybe they are stinky. Does Peppa stink? That could be true, but it doesn't make us like her any less. Now for a controversial question. Where does the milk they drink and use to make cheese come from? Peppa loves cheese, and that makes us think that in the show's universe, they might get their milk from Mrs. Cow. This was a super creepy theory for years until we watched the episode Children's Festival, where an image of a cow, as a wild animal, appeared. We know that in the show, there are animals that are the same species as the characters, and if there are wild cows, then that's probably where they get their milk from. But could Mrs. Cow somehow be involved in this? You can get even more involved with the channel by subscribing and hitting the notification bell. Another theory talks about the disappearance of other pigs because so far, everyone we've seen is part of Peppa's family, and that's not really normal in the show. For example, there's Auntie Pig, the mother of cousin Chloe and baby Alexander. She comes from another pig family because she's not related to either Daddy Pig or Mummy Pig. But we've never seen any of those other characters. Where are all the other pigs? Could they be hiding somewhere, or maybe only Peppa's family exists? One major theory is that Aunt Dottie is evil because in the episode where she sends a gift to her nieces and nephews, she did something really wrong or super mean. That horse on wheels she sends to Peppa and George is actually something dangerous in a place full of very steep hills. So much so that Daddy Pig ends up getting hurt. Could she secretly be evil and wanted to hurt her nieces and nephews? This is a really dark theory from the Peppa universe. Susie might be a clone. The theory is that Grandpa Rabbit cloned this character along with her grandmother and mother. On her pajamas is an anchor symbol, the same symbol that's on Grandpa Rabbit's hat. And there are no male characters in Susie's family. The little sheep would be a clone because Miss Rabbit sells clothes made of wool in her shop. And everybody knows that wool comes from sheep. One of the scariest theories about Peppa Pig says that Dr. Hamster is a character who doesn't really take good care of the animals. She's the town vet, but Tittles the tortoise keeps escaping from her clinic. That's only possible if the person responsible for Tittles isn't a good doctor, which is why she might be a terrible vet. Could that really be true? But what's even more true is that there's fun here every single day. That's why we've picked 2 more videos for you to enjoy. We'll see you in the next video. See you soon.